If, in fact, we're able to change some of the justices when they retire and put in really progressive judges, like we've always had, tell me that won't change your life when Trump justices are already gutting voting rights, overturning Roe, decimating affirmative action, and so much more. We're going to let that happen? We can't. No, we really can't. Now let's talk about Trump's MAGA lies. I don't have an hour, but we're going to shorten it. Trump takes credit for sending all the pandemic relief checks alone. It's a lie. The truth is, the Congressional Black Caucus got that money passed. And when Kamala came to office with the help of the CBC, passed legislation delivered more checks in the pockets of millions of Americans, including black Americans. $1,400 checks from the American Rescue Plan we passed. And then $300 a month per child, per family through the child tax credit, which cut child poverty in half for black families. And I'm going to get it reinstated in the second term. Folks, Trump continues to lie by saying black unemployment was at a record low on his watch. The fact is, record low unemployment happened on my watch, and we're going to keep it going. Black small businesses are starting up at a faster rate in 30 years because of what we've done. The racial wealth gap is the lowest it's been in 20 years because of our efforts. A promise made and a promise kept. I announced the most significant housing plan in 50 years. It includes first-time home buyers tax credit, building millions of affordable housing to bring rents down. New data shows 40% cut in the gap between home appraisals in majority white communities versus those of color, communities of color. You know, the same exact builder on either side of 95 build the same houses. If it's a black community, it's lower, the value from the very day it's built ends up being lower than the exact same house across the highway in the white community. We're doing everything we can to right that wrong. And guess what? We're taking on corporate greed to bring down the price of gas, food, and rent. Eliminating junk fees. Instead of getting charged $35 for an overdraft, it's $3 now, not $35. The bottom line is we're investing more in black Americans than any previous administration in history has. We're opening more doors for economic opportunity, including access to capital, entrepreneurship, workforce training, so you can build a life of financial freedom and create generational wealth, all while being the providers and leaders of your families and community. Another promise made and a promise kept. We're just getting started. The second term, want to keep it going to level the playing field by making the wealthy begin to pay their fair tax. It ain't even close. I said I'd not increase the tax of anybody making less than $400,000 a year. Well, guess how much the average federal tax rate is for a billionaire? We had 1,000 of them. 8.3%. 8.3%. It's outrageous. If the billionaires only had to pay 25% to raise $400 billion, we'd be able to do everything we're doing now and still reduce the debt. Look, billionaires pay their fair share. Not only reduce the deficit, but could provide child care, elder care, paid leave, and so much more to change the lives of millions of Americans, as well as grow our economy. But folks, all progress, all freedom, all opportunities at risk. Trump is trying to make the country forget just how dark and unsettling things were when he was president. But we'll never forget lying around and him lying around, actually. And lying about how serious the pandemic was and say he had no responsibility for it. And telling Americans, just inject a little bleach. Remember that? The way he's acting, I think he injected a hell of a lot of bleach in himself. Trump, you got it, kid. Trump and his MAGA extremists want to give power back to Big Pharma to continue to charge exorbitant fees. Trump is still determined, in his own words, quote, to terminate the Affordable Care Act, which would deny 3 million black Americans health insurance, deny protections for pre-existing conditions for millions more. During his presidency, Trump enacted a $2 trillion tax cut, overwhelmingly benefiting the very wealthy and the biggest corporations, and exploded the federal deficit. He racked up more federal debt than any president did in any presidential term in history. Tell me about the Republicans and balancing budgets. And now he wants to do it again. At the same time, he's determined to cut Social Security and Medicare. I have a better idea. Let's protect Social Security and Medicare and make the very wealthy begin to pay for it. As Kamala said, Trump brags about gutting Roe v. Wade, standing there, I did this. Well, he openly encourages voter suppression and election subversion. Folks, re-elect Kamala and me and a Democratic Congress, and I will sign the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and the Freedom to Vote Act tomorrow. And we will make Roe v. Wade the law of the land again. It's within our power to do this. MAGA extremists ban books. Did you ever think, if you're anybody over 30 years old, you'd go through a period where we're banning books in America? They're trying to erase black history. We're going to write black history because it's American history. It's American history. Together we make history, not erase it. To me, the values of diversity, equality, inclusion are literally, and that's not kidding, the core strengths of America. That's why I'm proud to have the most diverse administration in history. It taps into the full talents of our country. And starts at the top with the Vice President. On Memorial Day, I proudly stood with a black man, the highest order, the first black Secretary of Defense, second black Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, black women heads of military units. We're overseeing the most diverse, strongest fighting force in the history of the world. And folks, the threat that Trump poses is greater in his second term than his first. It's clear that when he lost in 2020, something literally snapped in the sky. No, I'm serious. That's why January 6th happened, when he unleashed an insurrection. Now, he's running again, and he's clearly unhinged. He calls insurrectionists who stormed the Capitol patriots. Patriots. If reelected, he wants to pardon, quote, every one of them. Let me ask you, what do you think he would have done on January 6th if black Americans had stormed it? Think about this. What do you think would have happened if black Americans had stormed the Capitol? I don't think he'd be talking about pardons. It's the same guy who wanted to tear gas you as you peacefully protested George Floyd's murder. The same guy who still calls the Central Park Five guilty, even though they were exonerated. He's that landlord who denies housing applications because of the color of your skin. He's that guy who won't say Black Lives Matter and invokes neo-Nazi Third Reich terms. We all remember Trump is the same guy who unleashed birthism, the birthism lie against Barack. And then Trump tells you he's the greatest president. I love this one. He says he's the greatest president for black people in the history of America, including more than Abraham Lincoln. I mean, can you fathom that? Where in the hell? Like I said, I think he injected too much of that bleach in his brain. I think it affected his brain. Some lies are so foolish they don't have to say anything about them at all. Maya Angelou said, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. You got it, kid. You got it. I'm showing you who I am, and Trump has shown you who he is. And today, Donald Trump is pandering and peddling lies and stereotypes for your vote so he can win for himself, not for you. Well, Donald Trump will have a message for you. Not in our house and not in our watch. Let me close with this. Let me close with this. Folks, I know we have a lot more to do. When the full promise of America is not available to every person in this country, regardless of race, we've got work to do. But let's not lose sight of how far we've come. And the reason is you. The stakes in this election couldn't be higher. What's at stake is nothing less than the fundamental ideal of America defines America, that we're all created equal, endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, and should be treated that way throughout our lives. We've never lived up to it, but we've never, ever before completely walked away from it either. And I'll be damned if I'm going to let Donald Trump be the reason to stop being America. I'll be damned if I'm going to let Donald Trump I'm not going to let Donald Trump turn America into a place that doesn't believe in honesty, decency, and treating people with respect. And I'll be damned if I'm going to let Donald Trump turn America into a place filled with anger and resentment and hate. Folks, America's always been a place where we've worked toward more perfect union, where those who were excluded in the past are included in the promise of the country today. I still believe that. I'm still optimistic, but I need you. So my question for you is simple, a simple one. Are you with me? Talk to your family. Spread the word. As the gospel song goes, we've come too far from where we started. Nobody told me the road would be easy. I don't believe he brought me this far, though, to leave me. My fellow Americans, I don't think the good Lord brought us this far to leave us behind. We just have to remember who we are. We're the United States of America, and there's nothing beyond our capacity when we act together. God bless you all, and may God protect our truth. Thank you.